I'm Kiran. I've brought the Unity and Diversity Garden to Scarritt-Bennett. But first I'd like to have Mr. Brownlee say a few words about the garden, because he's helped me a lot with bringing this to reality.
All right. Thanks, Kiran. It's a pleasure to be here with all of y'all today to really bring this project to the next phase and the next level, I'd say. When Kiran first came to me in the CPS and said, hey, I've got this really great idea. I want to start a Unity and Diversity Garden. It's going to be the first one in the Western Hemisphere. It's going to bring people of all different backgrounds together. And I'd like to do it somewhere in town. We said, great. That's absolutely awesome. That struck so many chords with me personally that I was very excited about it. I said, all right, so what do you know about gardening? And he said, I don't know, I've never had a garden before. And I said, okay, all right, so we're starting at ground zero. So literally in the last year and a half, Kiran has gone from just this idea in his head that he gained through working during the summer in India, and has brought it to fruition now, to the point where we have seedlings in the CPS that Ms. Rob and I were working on this morning, and getting to that next stage, and they're about to go in the ground. So he has grown so much. Mr. Flagel talked down in the dining hall about Kiran might not be the loudest person in the room, but his actions speak very loud. And I will say I've actually seen his voice physically get louder over the last year and a half. From the first ask that we did when we went to Home Depot to ask for some donations and some help there, Kiran was just kind of figuring out how that worked to go make an ask publicly for something. And to see the transition from then to now, when he, on his own accord, a couple of weeks ago, went to Worms Way and told them about all that we were doing and got all of our irrigation stuff donated. And just to see that transition in him has been a joy for me. And I think it's a great testament to his passion and his heart for this project. And I think we couldn't have partnered with anybody better than Scarritt-Bennett in terms of the location for the garden. This place is a place of unity and diversity, one that brings people of all different backgrounds together. And so I think it was kind of a perfect storm of a passion of Kiran's coming together, a passion of mine, gardening, and a place like Scarritt-Bennett where hopefully this will be something that will continue to grow, continue to bring people together for many years to come. And I think that it comes at a great time in Nashville's growth as well, as a city that is more diverse than most people think. I think this is coming together at a time when there are people reaching out wanting to bring and bridge those communities in Nashville together in a very intentional way. So Kiran, it's been an honor and a privilege to work alongside you and be part of this project. So I look forward to seeing it continue to grow and hopefully eating some tasty vegetables out of it by the end of the summer.
And I would just like to say a little bit more about how I got involved with Unity and Diversity. It started in summer of 2011 when I was in India visiting my grandparents. My grandmother is right there. She's going to speak right after. And I had to fill my community service hours for school, and I had no idea what to do, and my grandmother introduced me to Miss Maya Shahani. She plays a major role in the Global Dialogue Foundation, and also Unity and Diversity, which was just beginning at the time, and they needed help creating a website. And as I began creating their blog, I began to read the documents that I was including in there, and they stuck with me. It was the idea of bringing people together, not just by thinking that everyone's identical, but by understanding our differences and learning to love our differences. Then with the help of the CPS at FRA, I was brought to Scarritt-Bennett, and I fell in love with Scarritt-Bennett because they share the exact same vision as Unity and Diversity, myself, everyone I know. And then with the help of local organizations and donors, we're going to be able to put plants in the ground in the following weeks. But although so much focus is put on the garden itself, the real purpose of Unity and Diversity are these events to bring people together and speak about our differences as cultures, groups, and peoples, just to bring us closer together as humanity. And someone who helps promote peace is my grandmother, and I'd like to have her speak a little bit about her experience and what she believes.
inviting me and supporting Kiran and making his dream into reality. It may be my dream, it may be what I have dreamt of all my life, but the fact is that he has turned it into reality. He's moving towards fruition of my dream. Now, let's talk about Peace Gardens, because that is what we are inaugurating here today. Peace, I don't have to say why it is important. This is the only planet we own. This is the only home we all own. And if we decide to take an eye for an eye, the whole world will definitely turn blind. That is Gandhiji's words, and it has stuck to me ever. And then the other one is that if we don't have peace, we will all turn to pieces. It's not going to bring about anything. But why a peace garden? Various reasons. A peace garden, I live in India and I live in Bombay, and I love my home and I love my city, but I must say that it is crowded, very, very crowded. And when I come to Nashville, when I come to Tennessee, it is like so many of us, so many of the friends who I meet, they say, you look calm. And I think 80% of that reason is the greenery around me, the fact that it is peaceful, the fact that I see trees, and yes, I love to see people, but just to see those open spaces, just to see this lush green, definitely adds to the calmness. And that is where a garden's importance comes from. Imagine if we were to discuss these things in that milieu, in that surrounding, and then Scarritt-Bennett, which stands for this. It's just, I believe that nothing is a coincidence, and that is what the spiritualists say, that nothing is a coincidence. Well, this isn't a coincidence. As much credit as Kiran may give me, or you all may give me, I know that I have just been an instrument, and this is really the workings of the Lord out there. So, yes, that is the reason why Peace Garden. And now let me tell you something about gardens. In India, we call a saint. A saint is one who gives. He gives of himself. I mean, the one that we know closest to, who lived in India, is of course Mother Teresa. Who hasn't heard of her? You see, she just gave of herself, and that is why she is eventually called a saint, a person who just learns to give. And that is what we call a tree in India too. It gives shade, it gives fruit, and asks for nothing for itself except for the beginning. So a saint we call a moving tree, and we call a tree a stationary saint. And we have a column in the leading newspaper, Times of India, which is extremely popular, and it is called the speaking tree, because it's really the speaking saint who tells us something which is inspiring every day. That's about the tree. And then there is, if you look at these trees, there is so much that they have to tell us. If you can connect philosophy with this greenery and the trees around us and the flowers around us, they have lessons, they have stories to tell. One of them that I like to share with you, which of course I have read all this somewhere, but it has stuck to my mind. I don't know who the author is, but I would like to share it with you anyway, because this is what I have learned to believe in. The tree, and let's take an apple tree. An apple has so many seeds, right? A tree gives so many apples, but yet it requires only one seed for a tree to grow. Why did God do that? What was he trying to tell us? I think what he was trying to tell us, that if you don't succeed, try and try again, because most of the seeds won't grow. It will be just one. So this is the lesson that I get from that particular tree. The other thing, I don't know whether I would be able to communicate this. Am I clear so far? Because my language is not, is it clear? Yeah. Okay. So this second part was, we hear that God is just and merciful. Do we hear that? God is just and God is merciful. If we look at it closely, God can't be just and merciful. If he believes in justice, he cannot be merciful. And if he is all merciful, then maybe he cannot do justice. So how does this work? The tree tells us how it works. If you plant an apple tree, you plant the seed of an apple tree, only an apple tree will grow. That's justice. But then it gives so many so much fruit. And that, I think, is His mercy. Again, the tree speaks. This is the tree speaking. In a peace garden, many discussions can be held in a nice, beautiful, eco-friendly surrounding. The greener the vegetation, the fewer the crimes. Presence of plants have a therapeutic effect. Vegetation decreases mental fatigue. Mental fatigue is associated with irritability and decreased impulse control. Both the above are considered factors leading to violence. So as I say from my personal experience, just being in this milieu, the very vibration of it will make things happen for peace. Okay, animals and plants. Now I want to talk about animals coexisting, plants coexisting, and humans coexisting. So animals and plants coexist. God has created biodiversity and beautifully balanced systems in perfect harmony on earth. If we look at the Amazon forest, 10 million different animal species inhabit it. Okay, no man is an island. We need each other to coexist. One needs the doctor, the fireman, policeman, plumber, the list can go on. And in the plant world and in the animal world, a bee needs a flower because it uses the pollen from the flower to make honey. Again, it's coexisting. And nature helps to protect. The clownfish has a coating that protects it from the tentacles of the sea anemone. The animals camouflage and they are safe by blending with surroundings. Talking about blending with surroundings, I have a personal experience to share with you. Because of the modern technology and travel, I don't think America is the only melting pot. I know India is a melting pot of civilization, but I think today the whole world has become a melting pot. I mean, they are exchanging and interchanging so many ideas that we cannot say that, again, each one of us is an island. Both the US and India are leading democracies and most secular countries in the world. In India, we have great examples of humans coexisting. And I'm going to talk from personal experience. Most of us here come from a community which is called Sindhis. We are the Hindu Sindhis. We lost our state, we lost our home, we lost our possessions due to a political reason. And suddenly landowners who were extremely wealthy were left on the street with nothing with them for themselves. We fled. We had to flee. This was about 60 years ago. And we fled, and a lot of us came to India, but a lot of us moved into different parts of the world. But what made us a success story, and I will say this, and most will agree with me, even people who know Hindu Sindhis. Sindhis lost their, wherever we went, we blended. We took citizenships and remained loyal. We prospered because of our peaceful nature, because we learned to sometimes agree to disagree. And we blended like sugar does with milk. That's how we did. I mean, we tried to move in. That's why we take the clothes, we take, we respect the way of being. This I'm talking is my own Sindhi community, which today, after 60 years, those landlords who had so much wealth and who lost so much, lost almost everything, today have prospered so much that they are giving back to society. They are giving back in terms of hospitals, in terms of education, schools and colleges, because we have made it. And we have learned the pain of not having anything. Having it and then losing it all. And today we feel that and how do we do it? By blending and learning from each other. Let me talk to you a little bit about my own experience. I mean, sometimes I feel I go I, but I suppose that I am the only I who knows myself best. And from my own experience, this is what I can share with you. It's not just what I read here and there. I myself was brought up in Spain, and I was the only Hindu girl in a class of 40 Christian students. This was way back in the 1950s. Jesus was my first best friend. He was, because he's the one I knew. I mean, I was there, and I prayed, and I really prayed. And I said, I'm curious about knowing about other religions. I want to know about other faiths. I want to know about other cultures. Lead me and take me where I am meant to be. And at the age of 13, I came down, I moved to India, where I learned about various cultures and learned about various religions, learned about various faiths, and I wrote various books. And I wrote them very simple. I mean, if you read my books, they are not scholarly, because I wanted to appeal to the students, to somebody who's waiting for a flight and just going through it, just to inspire them that there is more to it. So if you would like to pick up a scholarly book, pick up a scholarly book. And that's how I wrote and made notes, wrote about 7-8 books. But the book which is closest to my heart is Dadi Nani Ki Kahani. It means Granny's Stories. And Granny's Stories was actually inspired to me by Kiran's elder brother Aditya. It was Aditya who wrote to me, said, Nani, I'd like to know about a certain festival that we celebrate in India. And I wrote to him. And then another festival came, and I wrote to him about another festival. And then we celebrated, of course I didn't have to tell him about Christmas, but I did other festivals like Eid and all. I did go close, learn a little more about him and wrote to him. And that's how I compiled the book, Granny's Stories, and started my own website, which is called Dal Sabzi for the Atman, but it is equivalent to chicken soup for the soul. Dal Sabzi is vegetables for the Atman, which is the soul. And I wrote about various religions. And then September 11 happened. And when September 11 happened, leading newspaper in India, which is the Times of India, and the Times of India group, felt they needed to do something to help. They said, we need to do something. And what they did was, they called people from different walks of life and from different countries. Whoever would visit, and Times of India being what it is, whoever they invited would definitely come. My website and book had come to their notice, and that is how I was invited to attend the various meetings that were held at the Times of India building. And after much thinking, what shall we do, what shall we not do, we finally formed the Women's Movement for Peace and Prosperity, which in short we call the WMPP. It's a non-profit organization, and women were made to lead. They felt that the men had led for long enough, and they haven't made much strides. We need to take the men along with us, so I wouldn't want to say more, because without the men we cannot really operate. But having said that, we felt that the women should take the lead, and maybe the reason when we discussed is, why is it that a woman succeeds more at peace than a man does? I think because basically woman is the mother, the nurturer. I mean, she would keep the fires burning, no? While the men went out to hunt, right? Isn't that the way it was? So to keep the fire burning, she had to have a peaceful nature. She cared for her children. She would get less of an she has less of an ego than a man does, and she's probably more compassionate because of the very fact that she is I shouldn't say that, even a father is. I don't know whether you'll agree with me, but this is what we discussed at the Times of India this thing. Various tables were formed, and the tables were good governance, education, spirituality, and I became the head of the spiritual table. And then we discussed, okay, spiritual table, fine, but how do we go about it? So what we did was, we went to discover the gems of each faith, the gems of each religion. We said, let's see them. And then we got even more ambitious and said, it's fine for a Hindu to speak about Hinduism, and a Christian to speak about Christianity, and a Muslim to speak about Islam. But how wonderful if a Hindu spoke about Christianity, the faiths of the Christianity that is found, or a Christian talked about the beauty of Islam, or Islam spoke about the beauty of Hinduism. We just thought that would be lovely, and we did carry on that experiment. So now I think my 10 minutes should be over. So, Kiran, this is for you. I'm so proud of you that you are helping me in my vision of bringing peace. I have passed the torch to you, and I know you will do wonders with it. And to conclude, I believe in what a saint in India, Satya Sai Baba, says. There is only one religion, the religion of love. There is only one language, the language of the heart. There is only one caste, the caste of humanity. And there is only one God. You may call him by any name. Thank you so much.